Hi, I'm Brandy Dusky. I'm a school psychologist in my 14th year and am currently working at LCNCK in North Central Kansas for Concordia USD 333. I have completed the requirements for my building leadership endorsement and am currently working on my district leadership endorsement with the goal of becoming a special education director in my future. A little bit about me personally. I am married to my husband Ryan of nearly 11 years and we have a blended family. We have 4 children between us. The oldest is Tessa. She is an adult, a KU graduate, a nurse, and is a wonderful mother. Aiden graduated high school last year and is currently working on his electrical certification. Cooper will graduate this spring and hopes to attend Fort Hays next fall. Ryan is an 8th grader and loves all things cheerleading and babysitting. And our baby, little Riley, she keeps us on our toes. I have one son-in-law and a grandchild. Tessa married Ryan. We have a lot of Rys in our family. And their daughter is Hazel. And in my downtime, when I find it, I like to read. Ryan and I spend a lot of time renovating, and we enjoy camping at the lake close to our house. A little bit about me professionally. I mentioned that I'm a school psychologist, and in 2020, I was nominated the Kansas School Psychologist of the Year. I've been involved in a lot of leadership capacities locally on our LCNCK Special Ed Leadership Team. I've held many roles on the CASP Executive Board, currently as the NASP Delegate, and I'm in my second term as School Board Vice President for Wakanda USD 272. Jumping right into the questions, I reviewed the National Institute for Excellence in Teaching that I'll refer to as the NIET moving forward, and they focused on those 6 key lessons learned, focusing on leaders first, prioritizing professional learning, adopting research-based rubric, anchoring feedback and coaching back to the curriculum, recognizing the stages of implementation, and working closely with school leaders to support instructional practice. And Hines also notes that over 70% of dropout reasons are non-academic. So those basic needs come first, and that includes mental health and helping students navigate those unwritten rules. A quote from the infographic from Green and Harrington really spoke to me, especially the piece about the teacher being the architect for students' learning, really building that student up. It really just spoke to me. And then the Education First document really highlighted that we need to have a relentless pursuit of the priorities that are part of our vision, and all initiatives should point back to those priorities from the vision. The Office of Educational Technology is a comprehensive tool for recognizing the roles and responsibilities of district leadership and affecting change by providing tools, professional development, and support, developing clear outcomes for professional development, ensuring that professional development is highly collaborative and that it's intended to build capacity. District leaders ensure deeper learning outcomes. And the NIET recommends creating time structures and formal roles for ongoing collaborative professional learning at the school level. Diving into the Education First resource and really looking through the coherence framework, I found the quote that the framework centers on equity and ensures the key drivers of fragmentation in the education system are addressed. The Office for Educational Technology resource highlights the need for plans to address funding, both startup and ongoing, maintenance, and ensuring appropriate access to speed and connectivity. Surgikov recommends that questions to ask are whether current methods help increase learning productivity and, as a result, time and cost efficiency. And the U.S. Department of Education, USDOE from here on out, recommends setting clear goals and timelines and ensuring access is accounted for both in and out of the classroom. By encouraging leaders to foster a culture of risk-taking, experimenting, and sharing, we're able to build local capacity across all areas, cultivating teacher leaders and continuing the growth into the future. Education First indicates that equity begins with an understanding of the problem at hand, and I really appreciated this picture from the Kamenetz article, and it highlights the terms that are used to try to quantify those non-academic skills. They are the keys to success, but each term means something slightly different from the others, and there isn't coherence with what they all could possibly mean. And then on page 2 of the NIET article or source, high quality instructional materials are designed to encourage students in a deeper level of learning, create a focused direction, and help teachers make connections across grade levels. The NIET and Sertikov both agree that the most effective professional learning blends support of the what is being taught as well as the how it's being taught. And they both recognize that the how is often as important, if not more, than the what. Monitoring student needs, both academic and non-academic, is crucial for maximizing student agency, not only for the teacher, but also for the student. A learner agency's two main components are knowledge of oneself and ability to articulate your needs to someone else. Many of our students lack that awareness, and once it's cultivated, their educational trajectory is forever shifted. Sertikov noted that innovative practices are often born of a desire for more efficiency, and leaders must weigh their invested efforts with estimated outcomes in order to determine productivity. And when expenses no longer align with the vision, they can become barriers and create inefficiencies that must be addressed. Leaders are aware of power structures and dynamics, and they engage with stakeholders to gather input for policies and address barriers. Though there aren't any quick fixes, utilizing evidence-based tools is a solid first step for policy work. A quote from page 3 of the Office for Educational Technology document indicates that district leadership puts policies into place to ensure that the district provides educators with tools, professional development, and ongoing support to collect and analyze evidence of student learning on an ongoing basis. Evidence is diverse, including student and teacher observations and reflections, student work, formative and summative assessment results, and data from analytics embedded within learning activities and software. Parents and community members are interested in the educational systems impacting their children and communities, as well as educational climate. Personalizing student learning links back to the competencies that align within the comprehensive vision. Leaders at every level create a culture of collaboration. They model collaboration, build the discipline and time for it within their agencies and departments, and they expect it of their colleagues. Green and Harrington note that schools that have created conditions for student agency are going to have an easier time with rapid or extended closures because students aren't waiting for adults or systems to tell them what to do. They're inspired by the work they're doing because they had a voice in shaping and designing it. They created it, and it doesn't live within the school building. When the student drives the learning, the arbitrary structures like class periods and teacher-driven lessons in the form of worksheets or rote learning tasks become obsolete. The NIET recognizes the stages of curriculum implementation and what teachers need to progress to higher stages, keeping in mind that teachers will be at varying levels of skill development. And Sertikov identifies innovation as the key to improving attitudes, teaching styles, motivation, and autonomy. The NIET suggests adopting a research-based instructional rubric that creates a common language to describe instructional practice at levels that increase in effectiveness. The Office of Educational Technology, in their Pathways to Learning area, indicate that policies are put into place to ensure students have the opportunity to develop and demonstrate competencies aligned to shared learning outcomes through personalized sequences of learning activities that challenge them and reflect their interests and learning preferences. The Education First document, Coherence Lab, indicates leaders at all levels of the organization must recognize how ways of thinking and working can create systems of advantage and oppression, and that it's not possible to collaborate effectively, authentically engage, or make change stick unless identity, bias, and power dynamics are understood and addressed. Leaders are consciously aware of their implicit biases, regularly reflect on when they notice their own bias in action, and create systems and structures to illuminate where bias may be at play. They understand that bias affects our relationships with others and therefore our relationships to problems and solutions. They seek to move from awareness of implicit biases to actively countering them. Green and Harrington recognize that student-centered learning is about more than just putting the students at the center of education. It's about giving each student the opportunity for success. It's about designing learning to be flexible and adaptable to each learner and not just the average student. Comments in her article included a quote from Noah Webster, the great American lexicographer and educator, that way back in 1788 he said, "The virtues of men are of more consequence to society than their abilities, and for this reason the heart should be cultivated with more assiduity than the head." Wow. And Polikoff indicated that special considerations are needed for non-traditional settings, like the homeschool setting. A strategic plan for accomplishing the shared vision is collaboratively developed by district leadership to provide specific action steps which are aligned with a theory of change. And district leadership fosters a district culture in which teams of teachers are encouraged and supported to take leadership in developing learning outcomes, designs, pathways, and assessments, grounding their designs in collaborative analysis of evidence. The Office for Educational Technology indicates that district leadership develops funding plans to cover startup and ongoing maintenance and upgrade costs during a 5 to 10 year period, and also plan accordingly in the future by looking at opportunities for grants or partnering with other entities. And the US DOE suggests building in frequent program assessment and evaluation. Green and Harrington indicate that one of the core characteristics of student-centered learning environment is the continuous monitoring of student needs through ongoing analysis of student data. Teachers and administrators should look at the whole child, considering both their academic and non-academic needs. And then back to the Office of Educational Technology and those 6 key lessons for high-quality implementation. A critique of my use of technology as a building or district leader is limited. As an employee, I'm not sitting in those decision-making settings to determine what technology will be utilized. I recognize that technology can be quite expensive, and often decisions are made on dollars, the biggest bang for the buck. But aside from my work on boards, I haven't had experience with funding sources or budgeting for technology at a school or district level. So my inexperience there leads me to ask many naive questions so that I can better understand the process. As an employee, I often see initiatives that integrate technology but sometimes feel at odds with each other and don't work seamlessly together and create extra steps and frustration for staff. Sometimes there are good initiatives that staff are able to see as beneficial, but juggling too many technological initiatives can be cumbersome, and much of this could be attributed to the rapid growth of technology, and that by the time tech initiatives are implemented and all staff are trained, it can be outdated. I mentioned previously that my current role doesn't readily lend itself to being involved in decision-making, but my involvement in leadership teams allows me opportunities to dive into initiatives already in place that I may not utilize in my current role and learn more about their application. I've received some extensive training in adaptive schools, and I've learned a lot by posing naive questions. Questions that are harmless and not meant to threaten integrity or hurt feelings, but get at the purpose to better understand information and points of view. I think it's imperative to build local capacity by growing leaders of the staff we currently have, and to foster a culture and climate of risk-taking, community, and leadership to development for the benefit of individuals as well as the whole. My presentation correlated to the CLO standards in the following ways. 4.1 was highlighted by the Hines, Kamenetz, and NIET resources in that area. 4.2 utilized the NIET, Office for Educational Technology, Sertikov, and USDOE resources. 4.3 really hung on Educational First, Green and Harrington, Modafari and Jimenez, Polikoff, and the USDOE resources. And 4.4 utilized information from Education First, Green and Harrington, Modafari and Jimenez, NIET, Office of Educational Technology, Polikoff, Sertikov, and USDOE resources. Looking into my reflection and the relevant information, I recognized that the ways that this assignment is relevant to me are directly linked to my reflective thoughts moving forward. The relevance to see beyond the minutiae of technology implemented and recognize the ways it is utilized to facilitate equity in systems by improving access and supporting teachers. As I mentioned before, posing naive questions will help me better understand the why behind the tech currently in use and understand conflicts and/or redundancies in programs, and help me to facilitate conversations of better more cohesive practices moving forward. And my reference.